Life with full attention. I've jumped ahead a bit. This is the course that this series is connected with, but also, as I said, you're welcome to come on the course. Life with full attention is about mindfulness. It's a course, a very practical course in mindfulness from a Buddhist point of view. And so I thought tonight it would be good to say a little bit about what mindfulness is, and we're going to be doing the mindfulness of breathing later, awareness of the experience of breathing. What is mindfulness? And there's far too much to say about this than I'm probably capable of saying at all, and certainly not in 10 to 15 minutes that I've got. But I've thought for a long time that mindfulness is not a great word for mindfulness. It's interesting, isn't it? The word mindful. Mindful. Now, if I think a full mind, that to me suggests loads of stuff going on, rushing around like crazy up here. And that's not mindfulness. Mindfulness is certainly not about having a full mind in that sense, a sort of a busy mind. But we'll be exploring tonight what mindfulness is. Yes, sometimes it's regarded as synonymous with awareness. I feel there's a bit of a difference in the connotations or the sort of detailed meaning of the two. Mindfulness to me implies something that's more sort of intentional. We're choosing to be aware of something, someone, some aspect of our experience, or maybe the breadth of our experience. We can be mindful of the breadth of our experience. But one of the reasons why I don't like the word mindfulness in a way, although of course I use it, is that it can have a connotation you're sort of like a bit of a distant observer up here somewhere, rather aloof and sort of looking down on things and maybe trying to analyse them. And that's not what we're talking about, actually. In a sense, observing, but not at a distance. So I want to explore some of the qualities of mindfulness. This isn't an exhaustive list or an official list, just a few things that came to my mind in reflecting on it. And the first one is not distant, but there's an intimacy in mindfulness. A mindful state of mind is one where there's an intimacy with our experience. And this is this can be a very helpful angle on the mindfulness of breathing or any meditation practice, where becoming intimate with the sensations in our body. We can seek intimacy outside, can't we? We can seek intimacy with other people in different ways. And there's nothing wrong with that, unless we get very, very attached to it, which we often do. Digression. We can seek intimacy outside, but how wonderful to be able to bring intimacy to ourselves, to have an intimate awareness and attention to our own experience. So it's a bit like the experience of going back to other people, being with, say, a close friend. Suppose you're with a close friend, and perhaps this friend is struggling with something in their lives, something painful, perhaps, and you're in quite a good state yourself, and you're able to be with them and really give attention, so that there can be an intimacy of communication. And in a way, you're sort of being a companion to your friend, keeping them company, not just at a superficial level of being together, but really being with how they are. So mindfulness also, following on from that, also fully developed includes a metta-ful attitude. So you do the Maitreyabandhu practice. Metta, of course, can be a quality we don't experience, we experience at other times. And a mindful state of mind I would say includes at least an element, maybe not obvious, of metta, of kindness, sort of a kind attention to what's going on, as we would have with a friend who's struggling. So yeah, we could talk about it as companionability. That's quite a good word for that, this sort of quality of an intimate, kindly being with our experience. Companionability. Yeah, there's remembering is a quality of mindfulness. So sort of remembering what your purpose is, what you're about at any given time. So if you're doing the mindfulness breathing course, remembering that you're trying to focus mainly on the breath. Or if, like me, you're someone who perhaps sometimes suffers from anxiety, or remembering to not get caught up in those stories. That's a kind of mindfulness. Oh yes, this state of mind, it's helpful to not get caught up in the story, but it is good to be companionable with the feelings. So yeah, remembering is another quality of mindfulness. There's also a quality which I could describe as sort of breadth, being, if you like, bigger than what it is that we're paying attention to. So you're going, well, I just mentioned anxiety. Well, yeah, if there's an anxious state of mind, it's not helpful to get swallowed up by it. So that becomes our whole experience. But we can be aware of how it feels from a place that's bigger than it. And that's also an aspect of mindfulness. We're aware, or just awareness, we're aware of it, but we're not it, as it were. It's part of our experience, but it's not the whole of it. And that also connects, of course, to being with a friend. If the friend is suffering while we're with them, but our experience is not just swallowed up by what they're finding difficult. Hopefully, we're able to be bigger than that, to hold our friend, all of our friend in mind. Okay, mindfulness includes openness to our experience, to what's going on, or maybe might be mindfulness outdoors, for example, something we'll be touching on in our course. Just being able to open to like the beauty of the natural world. Well, that's an aspect of mindfulness. That's important in meditation, of course. We're able to be open with what's actually happening, how the breath actually feels, whatever else might be going on, that if we're not aware of it, it could drag us into some story, for example. There's sort of ethical sensitivity. Actually, I'm going to give a little example that will illustrate quite a lot of these things. So some of you may have heard this before, but I remember a little while ago, I get quite irritated if someone who I lived with would sometimes close a particular door quite loudly, and that would sort of spark off irritation. So, why are they doing that? They should know better than that, and then, of course, I would be able to become aware. Oh gosh, there's that thing going on again where I'm getting irritated with that sound, thoughts around that sound. And when I'm aware of it, I'm bigger than it. And then I can remember, oh gosh, yes, it isn't helpful to get caught up with this. So that's mindfulness as well. Yeah, just remembering this isn't a helpful thing to get caught up with. And then actually, that's sort of I'm not doing myself or my friend a favour by getting caught up in this. So that's sort of the ethical element. It's actually an unhelpful state of mind. But then I can bring a sort of intimate awareness to how it feels, the irritation. There might be a bit of tension in my chest, for example. And then I realize, oh gosh, there's a vulnerability underneath that. I won't go into that, there isn't time. But so then I can bring a metta to that, a kindly awareness to that. That's perhaps a little bit more deliberate, but that still involves mindfulness. What I will say that what I need to do, I found if that happens, if I get that particular reaction, that particular situation, is I need to connect with my own confidence. I won't try and explain that, but and then I can just let go of the reaction in some way. It's a kind of a sort of one-upmanship that's trying to feel more confident in myself via a really unhelpful route that doesn't really work. So yeah, but if I can connect with my confidence, well, that short circuits the trap that I'm falling into. So, okay, that was a rather complex example, but hopefully I've just given you a little taster of these different sort of aspects of what mindfulness is. And I may be stimulating all sorts of questions. Maybe jot them down or something and come back to those later in the evening. One more quality to mention is appreciation. That's a very beautiful quality. I mentioned that in relation to nature. Well, we can bring that into our meditation as well. Like we're meditating on the breath. Well, what an amazing thing the breath is. Just appreciating it, and that it's not just a sensation. Actually, it provides us with life, of course, but it also connects us to life. Because we breathe in the air that others breathe out, and the plants, as it were, breathe out, without which we wouldn't be able to breathe. So there's sort of a certain kind of intimacy in that, actually, just in what the breath is, when we really think about that, not that we want to be thinking in the meditation. Okay, one more quality of mindfulness, which I won't go into tonight, but I just have to mention it, is ultimately it can bring us into an awareness of the actual nature of our experience. The fact that it's always changing, for example. That's another quality of mindfulness. And of course, we simply get to know ourselves, coming back more down to earth. We get to know ourselves through mindfulness. We get to really understand and come into a better relationship with whatever's going on within us, moment to moment, day to day. So in the course, which is the Saturday morning course that I'll come back to at the end, we're going to be looking at probably all of these different aspects, not necessarily in exactly the way I've just described them, but all of these different aspects. But now it's time to meditate. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to invite you to, if there's any particular quality that I've mentioned, quality of mindfulness that I've mentioned, that you find particularly attractive, well, you could try and bring that into the meditation. I'm going to suggest, if there isn't anything in particular that's pulling you towards it, I'm going to suggest that we focus on intimacy with our experience, and perhaps also breadth, being bigger than anything that's going on. And I'll lead it with a little bit of directing in that way. So if you want to make yourselves comfortable, I'm going to lead a body scan, and then I'm going to lead us in the 4-stage mindfulness of breathing. And it will be 25 minutes or so, this meditation. So just taking the time you need to set up a good meditation posture, something that supports both relaxation, calm, and also awareness, alertness, at least as best you can. And it can be good to start just by really bringing awareness into a sense of being supported by the ground beneath us, including our seat. Just feeling that sensation of the pressure of your body on your seat, your contact with the ground. You can also just notice sound So obviously there's the sound of my voice, but there may be other sounds as well, sounds that are actually in the place where you are or round about. So that's just grounding yourself where you are, even though at the same time you're also meditating with a community of other people, all starting this practice together. Or at least together in spirit if you're watching this later. So, tuning in more to the body, maybe the feet and the legs to begin with. Just experiencing how those are right now. From the toes up to the heels. Maybe noticing the temperature of the feet. And then the ankles, calf muscles, maybe the shins. Just seeing what sensations present themselves. And then bringing awareness to the knees. Maybe bringing a sense of openness or spaciousness to the knees. And then the upper legs, noticing the thigh muscles, the backs of the thighs, also the fronts. Just taking in sensations, maybe the touch of your clothes. And letting your legs rest. Bringing awareness to the buttocks, the groin, the hips. Maybe bringing a sense of ease to that area. Taking our attention to the back. Letting the back all the way up through the back of the neck, letting it be long. Not forcing anything, but just a natural uprightness. The back of the neck nice and long and soft. Bringing awareness to the head and the face. The face is a part of the body that can hold a lot of feeling, a lot of emotion even. So just taking in how the face feels right now. Being intimate, if you like, with the face, close to it with our awareness, inhabiting it, and encouraging a relaxation, a letting go without forcing. Noticing the shoulders, letting go in the shoulders if we're able. And then the arms, the upper arms, the elbows, lower arms, the hands and fingers. Another very sensitive part of the body. Just experiencing them as they are. Noticing the guts. There might be some tension or unsettledness in the guts. Just taking that in. Even having a sense of keeping that company, being intimate with that. You may be able to let it go. And then bringing awareness to the chest, the heart center, feeling how that is, the center of the chest. And gradually, in whatever way, tuning into the sensations of breathing as the breath naturally comes in and out. Very intimate experience of the breath entering and leaving the body. Moving into the first stage of the mindfulness of breathing. Focusing in particular on the end of the out breath, and if you wish, making a count. Mainly just being with the sensations of the breath, enjoying that closeness with them. And whilst we're staying with the breathing, the body breathing, if we start to notice other sensations, thoughts arising, not getting caught up in those, being bigger than them, can just disappear into the background. If we do get caught up, just relaxing, letting go, coming back to the body right now. move now into the second stage, shifting our awareness to the beginning of the in-breath. Might feel like an even more intimate experience, the breath just starting to enter the body wherever we notice that. And keeping a broad enough awareness that we can notice anything else that's arising. And if thoughts arise, simply deciding to stay in the body. We can really enjoy just the simplicity, being with the sensations of breathing. And if we are getting distracted, bringing a kindness to that, not worrying about it, taking it in, coming gently back to the body, and then back to the breath. Now, if you're ready, you can let go of any counting and see if you're able to stay with the breath From the moment it enters the body to the moment it leaves. Staying rather with the breathing sensations, with the body. And whilst we're staying with the sensations of breathing, we can have a broader awareness of the body, so that if other feelings or thoughts start to impinge, we don't need to get swallowed up by them. We can be bigger than them. Staying with and enjoying the breath. Now, the fourth stage of the practice, if we're ready, bringing our attention particularly to one point, maybe the point where the breath first enters the body and last leaves, which can be a very intimate experience. Your sensitivity of awareness, keeping a bigger awareness of the whole of the body as far as we can. We're close to this one point and big enough with our awareness to contain more, to hold more. But if we are able to be with this one point, seeing how closely, how intimately we can inhabit it without losing all of our breath. And now letting go of trying to do anything and just resting in awareness of whatever comes to us. Nothing more to do than that. Just taking in our experience as it is. And in a moment I'll ring the bell and you can gently bring the meditation to an end. Okay, so I hope that's given everyone a sense, maybe already a familiar sense, a sense of how much more satisfying and pleasurable it is to be, as it were, intimate with one's experience, perhaps particularly bodily experience, compared to like being a distant observer. And that can be a valuable quality to consciously bring into one's meditation practice. So we've got a little bit of more time, and we've got time for questions. So do please put any questions in the chat, and don't be afraid to ask really sort of basic, obvious questions, because they're often the best. Do ask anything that you want to. Yeah. I'll give it a moment, because I know it can take a moment to formulate and type.
I just really liked what you said near the end about having sort of a very intimate experience of what's going on with your breath, but also being big enough to hold something much wider. And sometimes I've felt that as an experience where you kind of like zone in, zone out of that sort of thing.
Yeah,
but actually this time
it
didn't feel like that. It felt like those were possible at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think it's how you'd led us through it. It sort of felt like a different quality in a way of those things seeming to be opposite.
Right.
But you can do them at the same time.
Yeah. No, thank you, Liz. And I think in a way the breath supports the we call it focus often, don't we? That breadth of awareness, the more fully established that is, the easier it is to then bring more and more keen, close attention, if you like, intimate attention upon a particular aspect of our experience. For example, the breath here. And that's why the body scan is so helpful, usually at the beginning, or something like a body scan, to really get into awareness of the body, solid breadth of awareness, and then from there we can focus in on the breath and be less likely to be thrown around because we've actually got to breadth of awareness. It's they're both important aspects. Well, if there's nothing coming in, I'm going to ask you a question. So I've mentioned a number of different qualities of mindfulness. Intimacy. I've mentioned that breadth, remembering what we're intending to do, openness, sort of ethical sensitivity, appreciation, maybe one or two others that I've forgotten. Metta, I mentioned, is connected. So any of those qualities especially attractive to you? And if you want to answer that question, then an optional extra is, why is that?
Vivian's put a question.
Okay, yeah, great. Questions are still welcome too, yeah.
Do you have any advice for when your mind is too full of thoughts? I notice there are days I can focus on a lot better than others.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah, thanks, Vivian. That's not a question with an easy answer, I think. It depends on lots of things. Well, one thing, of course, is it really matters what else you're doing, as it were. And this is the thing about meditation, that meditation is most effective when our lives are not too sort of scattered and going many different directions. And forgive me mentioning it again, but the course like the one we're starting is a good way of learning to bring this quality of mindfulness into life more broadly, which will then help with meditation. But also, of course, it particularly helps what you're doing immediately before you meditate. That can really make a difference. And the other thing that, of course, that can really be helpful is really taking time to ground yourself in the body. And then being patient and kind when you're all over the place. It happens to me sometimes. Yeah. It's a real art, I think, learning to manage that, and when you need to act in terms of what you're doing in the rest of your life, and when you need to sort of, that's always helpful, and what to do when you're actually meditating. Do you want to add anything to that, Priyadaka?
I was really thinking about kindness and patience.
The worst thing is to get really sort of annoyed with yourself for being distracted. That really doesn't help.
If your mind is distracted and full of thoughts, sometimes you say, that's what's going on. That's the human mind. And patience may let that slowly settle on. You wait until ease comes.
That's true. Yeah, sometimes if you've got time for quite a long meditation, it can be surprising how at a certain point, just by trying to have a breadth of awareness and having a kind attitude to what's going on, the mind can gradually settle. Yeah, thank you.
Jules has just posted a comment saying things are a bit chaotic where she is, so she's very distracted at the moment, but she does feel more at peace for being here, so thank you.
Thank you, Jules. And that's another thing worth saying, is that actually one can sit down to meditate and have a mind that's caught up with all sorts of things and doesn't really manage to settle. But then if you ask yourself at the end, did that meditation have an effect? In my experience, the answer is always yes. Always, in my experience, has a positive effect, as long as I've really had the intention of trying to be with my experience and being able to bring a kind attitude to what's happening. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody? Any more questions? Any more comments? Responses to my question?
There's no more coming through at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's all right. That's all right. We're moving towards the end anyway, so I'll just fill a little bit more on the course and another couple of short announcements. So yeah, Life with Full Attention, in a way it's just started, the last hour, our course, but it more fully starts, as it were, on Saturday morning. So the main sessions of the course are Saturday morning. That's 9:15 till 11 in the morning. And it's an online course through Zoom. That is, the Saturday morning is through Zoom. And it's without charge, but you do need to book. And in fact, if you want to book, you still can, but please send an email to the Buddhist Centre to tomorrow morning. Or is the booking still open, actually? It probably is, isn't it?
It's still open at the moment.
So sorry, you don't need to email. You can just go to the link that Liz is now posting, and that will tell you how to book. But please do book tomorrow morning. You might get away with it in the afternoon, but to be on the safe side, book in the morning. And that, as I've said, it is a practical course in Buddhist mindfulness, really looking at how to bring this quality of mindfulness and all those different aspects, maybe others I haven't mentioned, into your day-to-day life. So it includes meditation in the course, but it's a broader course than that. It's not primarily about meditation. Indeed, the meditation part of the course is mainly what we're doing on these Thursday evenings. That course is being led by myself, Priyadaka, who's with us tonight, and Yashodaka, who some of you may also know. And you do need to get hold of a copy of the book for the course. The website page will tell you how to do that, but it's okay if you haven't got that by the Saturday morning. So next week on this series, so we've got this series, Thursday night series, Living with Awareness. And you're absolutely, totally welcome to come to that, whether you're on the Life Full Attention course or not. It is a drop-in night, our meditation night. And next week we'll be staying with the mindfulness of breathing. And the title for next week is Living in the Body. So that will follow on probably from what I've talked about tonight. And one more announcement is that on Sunday afternoon we've got a special event which is called Dharma Revolution Day. That's quite a word, isn't it? Dharma is our word for the Buddha's teaching. So it's the revolution connected with the Buddha's teaching. So this is an event which in a way will illustrate how the Dharma, the Buddha's Dharma, can come into relationship with social problems. And it's marking a very important event in modern Buddhist history, which was a huge conversion in 1956 of people from the absolute lowest of the low in the Hindu caste system to Buddhism, and thereby actually freeing themselves from their own conditioning, connected with being in that system in that way. So a very sort of moving event actually that's being celebrated. There'll be a couple of short talks and a conversation, and that will involve some people in India, actually in India, as well as people here in Cambridge. That's Sunday afternoon, 2 till 4:30. And last of all, of course, if you feel moved to, and I hope you do, if you feel moved to, please do give to our centre. If you're already giving regularly, thank you very much. Regular gifts are enormously helpful for us in planning. You're completely welcome to come to this class, and indeed the course I've mentioned, without paying a penny. And we do need money to run the centre, so if you're able to and you want to, please do help us do that. So that's all from us for tonight, and we hope to see you next week.
We do.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.